Hi there. Welcome to our second video. This video is going to discuss delivery. And delivery is certainly very, very important in a speech. You know, a survey was done recently about the political candidates who were running for president. And the survey came up with something very interesting. It said that this is how the speakers are perceived. 10% is based on what you actually say, the content of your remarks. 15% of how a speaker is perceived is based on what you said, the language you used, while a full 75% of how a speaker is perceived was based on how they appear. So you can have a wonderful, wonderful speech with wonderful language, but if you don't know how to deliver it, your message is not going to get across. Or if it gets across, it's not going to be perceived as favorably as it could be. So let's talk a little bit about the different types of speeches. First of all, the first type of speech is the one that you're going to do in this class, and that is extemporaneous. An extemporaneous speech means simply that you use an outline. Now, there are disadvantages and advantages. Some of the disadvantages are the language may not be very precise. You may not be able to read your own notes. You need to have a lot of practice in doing so. And you may go too short or go too long because it's a little bit different every time. The advantages of an extemporaneous speech are you have really good eye contact usually. You can make your speech longer or shorter based on the audience reaction. You can respond to the audience feedback. If they look confused, you can elaborate a little bit. It can sound a lot more spontaneous, and it has structure. The outline helps keep you on track. Exactly opposite of that is what's called the manuscript. Now, the manuscript is where you write out your speech word for word and read it. There are advantages and disadvantages of that. Some of the disadvantages of this are it requires a lot of practice and a lot of ability to be able to read aloud well. It has less eye contact. It's really hard to respond to audience feedback because you are going word for word. It can also go too fast and it can sound fake. Some of the advantages of a manuscript are it can be polished, it can be rehearsed, it can be down to the very precise, exact timing if time is an issue. It has exact wording, especially helpful if you're dealing with a sensitive topic. Or another advantage is it has lots of research. So those are the two most common types. Now let's talk about two others, memorized and impromptu. And they have some of the same benefits and some of the same drawbacks. In a memorized speech, one problem is it's hard to adapt to feedback. You can get lost. You can go blank. It can sound really fake or sing-songy. And you cannot adjust to make it longer or shorter. The advantages of a memorized speech are you can give it anywhere. It can be polished and rehearsed. You have good eye contact. It can be precise language, and it can be precisely timed. The last type is an impromptu speech where you get up and speak on spur of the moment. Some of the disadvantages of that, obviously, you don't have very much structure. You can get lost. It doesn't have a lot of research. It doesn't sound very polished. You could totally go blank because you can't think of what to say. You can go way too long or way too short. It doesn't have a lot of material to back you up. An advantage of an impromptu, the audience has less expectations from you. You can certainly adjust to audience feedback. You don't have to have any paper or notes, so you can give it anywhere. You can move around, and you can adjust to time. Now let's talk a little bit about eye contact. Eye contact is very, very important. Audiences perceive you as more trustworthy, more confident, more prepared, not scared. The audience thinks that you really care about them if they look you in the eye. Obviously, an advantage of eye contact is that you can see how your audience is reacting and that you can adjust accordingly. People perceive you to be more honest if you look them in the eye. Eye contact is really, really important. Now, when does a speech begin, do you think? A speech actually begins as soon as the audience knows you're the speaker. So if you're at a dining function when you're going to eat and then talk, watch how you eat. Make sure when you're being introduced that you look confident. Make sure when you walk up to the podium, you are confident. And when you get up there, you don't need to start right away. Take a moment, relax, establish eye contact with everybody in the audience, arrange your papers, and then start. Take a deep breath. Don't start until you are ready. One thing you want to do is you want to start with a friendly face. By that I mean find somebody who's going to give you some encouragement, somebody who's smiling, somebody who's nodding along. Look at them. That way you know you got one person on your side. Pretty soon, look at somebody else. And that friendly face, you got two people backing you up. Look at a third person. You got three people backing you up. So on and so on. Keep looking for the friendly faces. Look at all parts of the room. Some people just look on the left side. Some people just look at the right side. Look everywhere. If you're nervous and you don't think you can directly look them in the eye, look at their ear. They'll think you're looking in their eye. Have one thought per person. Finish one whole thought here. When it's time for another thought, go to somebody else. Don't bounce around all the time. Like I said, look at all parts of the room. Don't look over their heads. Look at the audience while you're sliding your cards. Don't flip your papers, slide them. A good tip is to know the last part of your page and the first part of the next page so you can be looking at the audience when you shift your cards or you shift your pages. That's always helpful. And talk while you're sliding those cards. Don't tell the audience if you're nervous. We don't want to know that. Chances are we will not know that if you don't tell us. So don't tell us you're nervous. Again, know the beginning and the end of your speech. Now, when you are writing your outline, a helpful thing to do is to just use one side of the paper. Don't put your speech on two sides of the paper. Write on the upper 2/3 of your paper. That way you're looking up always. You're not looking down at the bottom of the paper. Capital letters are easier to read. Highlight important things. Underline important things. Write notes to yourself. Slow down. Repeat this line again. Smile. Make eye contact. Slow down. Smile. make eye contact. Good for you. You're doing well. You're halfway home. Those little notes are good. If you are moving around, if you don't have a podium, use note cards rather than paper. If you need something to drink, take something to drink up with you. Non-alcoholic, but go ahead and take something to drink, but only drink in between thoughts as much as you can. Smile. Smile. You heard the expression, it increases your face value. Smile. Audiences want to think that you're having a good time. Get your hands out of your pockets. Don't cross your arms. Don't point at audience members. Don't lean too much on the podium. Don't grip the podium. Don't rock the podium. Stand still. Plant both your feet on the ground as if your feet were in cement. Don't rock back and forth. Don't dance. Stand up straight. Don't hold a pen in your hand. Don't scratch. Don't play with your hair. Don't play with your face. Don't fidget. Don't scratch someplace. You want to avoid anything that is distracting. Don't pace. Just as I said, look at one person per thought. Move on a transition. Don't walk back and forth like ducks in a shooting gallery. You want to move on a transition. And if you want to really get close to the audience and look like you're talking one-on-one to a person, come out from behind the podium and get closer to them and talk. Just remember, the audience wants you to succeed. They don't want you to fail. So give them a good speech. Know they are on your side. They know what it's like. Your fellow students know what it's like. So please relax, have a good time, and just be yourself. Try not to scratch your nose like I just did. Have a good speech.